And welcome to the meeting, the formal Cabinet meeting here in Northumberland County Hall. Thanks for inviting us, and it's very, very pleasant surroundings. Thank you very much indeed. First of all, I just want to say that this meeting today, I want to welcome some new members and some people who are joining us and haven't been before, some people who are deputising for other people. So I'll just mention here that Caroline Rogan serves the Chief Executive Officer of Northumberland CVA. That's the Voluntary Association, isn't it? Good. And she's attending on behalf of Robin Fry, who can't join us today. And welcome to Peter Mennel, our Director of Housing, who is deputising for Paul Hansen. So, just to be pleasant and happy before we start this long meeting, we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves. Over to you, John.
Hello, I'm John Softley. I'm the Monitoring Officer for the Combined Authority.
Hello, I'm Victoria Miller. I'm the Democratic Services Officer.
I'm Carl Johnson. I'm the Deputy Mayor of North Tyneside and Cabinet Member for Investment Resources at the Combined Authority.
Peter Mennel, I'm the Director of Housing and Property Services at North Tyneside Council and deputising for Paul Hansen today.
I'm Karen Kilgour. I'm the Deputy Leader of Newcastle City Council and Combined Authority Cabinet Member.
Sajid Nawaz Batty, deputising for Pam Smith, Newcastle City Council.
Caroline Rogan, Northumberland CVA, deputising for Robin Fry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lucy Wunskill, Chair of the North East Local Enterprise Partnership.
Kath McAvoy-Carr, Exec Director of Adults and Children's Services for Northumberland County Council and also the current Deputy Chief Exec and deputising for the Chief Exec, Dal Jalali. Sorry, that was a long introduction.
Good afternoon. I'm Glenn Sanders. I'm Leader of Northumberland County Council. I'm also Cabinet Member for Culture and Creative on the north of Tyne, and it's very nice to see you all here today.
Richard Wearmouth. I'm the Deputy Leader of Northumberland County Council and a Member of the Cabinet.
Katie Lang, I'm deputising for Janice Gillespie as the Chief Finance Officer for the North of Tyne Combined Authority and the Local Enterprise Partnership.
Ruth Redfern, I'm the Director of Policy and Performance for the Combined Authority and also deputising for our Managing Director, Henry Kipping, who has COVID and cannot be here. Massive apologies from him.
And I'm Norma Redfern. I'm the elected Mayor of North Tyneside. I'm the Deputy Mayor of the Combined Authority, and I'm also Chair of the Housing Land Board of the Combined Authority. So I'm now going to ask Councillor Forbes if you'd like to introduce himself, because we've been round for. Yeah. Okay. Have we any apologies for our absence?
Chair, just from Mayor Driscoll.
Yes. And I believe he has COVID too, is that right?
Chair, yes, he's unwell.
You're right, okay. Then I'm now going to ask, are there any declarations of interest from anyone before we move on to the agenda item? No? Can we confirm the minutes of the last meeting as a correct record, please? Thank you. Where I think a number of people would like to speak to when Councillor Forbes gets his meal. He gets his cup of coffee, because at the end of the day we can't go out with you being hungry.
I'm bracing myself for all the good news this afternoon.
Yeah. No, actually, this is the time. I'm trying.
Very disruptive, I would say.
Isn't he just?
Yeah, very. Thinks you can do anything now, can't you?
Can't say anything. It's down.
Can I say something, Chair, while we're waiting? I know Nick is listening, but he wasn't able to attend the last meeting last week. But for the record, we wanted to put on the record our thanks for his support of the LEP. We realised that would have been his last meeting. But we said something in your absence, just so you know you were thought of.
Okay, I would just like to take this opportunity, Councillor Forbes, to thank you for all the fantastic work you've carried out on behalf of the Combined Authority, and the mere fact that you struggled for a number of years through very difficult circumstances to make the North of Tyne Combined Authority happen. And we're here now, and it's been a pleasure working with you, to be quite honest. And I know you won't be far away somewhere, digging away at something or other, but we have appreciated all your efforts. So thank you so much indeed for what you've done, really. Anyone else would like? Yes, Councillor Sam.
I would as well, please. I haven't known Councillor Forbes for that long, because I haven't been leader here for that long. But I have always found him to be very difficult when it comes to political statements, but very easy when it comes to working together. Some of his political statements are very naughty in the extreme. But I think the way he has served Newcastle, and I think the way he's served the North of Tyne, is exemplary, actually, and an example to me and to everyone else. And I think we all need to be very grateful for his hard work. So although I don't agree with him on some things, I do agree that he's been a fine example of a politician.
Thank you, Chair. I really just want to echo the comments the colleagues have made, and to thank Nick again. Without him and his perseverance and his hard work, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't have a combined authority, and we wouldn't have been able to make the difference to our residents that we have so far, and will continue to make a difference in the future. So really, I think, on behalf of Newcastle, if nothing else, thank you, Nick.
Well, you know how shy I am, Norma, and reluctant to speak. No, thank you very much for those very kind words. And the only thing I'll say is that I think the sense of teamwork that we've built around the Combined Authority hasn't just been to the advantage of the Combined Authority itself. It's strengthened the relationships between our three respective councils. And I think that's been a hugely important part of the journey that we've been on in terms of building trust, building confidence, and building a shared sense of what we're about and what we're trying to achieve. And Glenn always makes this joke about how we have a lot of political differences. Actually, one of the things that I've come to really appreciate is the common ground that we have between us, because that's been the space in which we've been able to really plan for the future, for a better future for the region. And I'm very grateful for all of the officers in the Combined Authority who've given me support in my particular portfolio, and particularly to cabinet members around the table for all of your continued constructive and positive engagement in what I think has been a journey which has started to transform the region. And it's not over yet, and I'll be watching where you go. But thank you for the opportunity to have been part of the incredible regeneration that we've led.
Thank you so much. I just want to add that Nick and I started on the journey of a combined authority about 9-10 years ago. It's been extremely difficult. But I'm pleased to say that we didn't give up on that journey. Others did, but we kept going. We kept going. And when we come to the annual report, you will realise why we kept on going on that journey, because working together has proved that we can not improve the service, but make things happen for the residents we serve by working together with a common goal in making this area the best we can make it, to be quite honest. So it has been difficult, and I appreciate your support over the years, because it was not easy. As you say, many of us felt sometimes, I'm not going back to that meeting, but we kept going. And I do appreciate what we have achieved in the last few years. And I think when we come to the next item, which is the annual report, you will see some of the things that we have achieved over those years, and I'm sure we'll all be very, very proud of that, which actually, when you examine that report, proves the point that we kept on this journey and we decided to come together. So thank you very much, Nick, much appreciated. We will now move on to the annual report this is item 5, and it's been, because now I'm chairing, it's my job to introduce that report. It wouldn't be normally. But I just want to say that when you look at the report, to be quite honest, we have achieved quite a lot, in fact a great deal in the last few years. And it has been pleasing to work with the members of this combined authority and the fantastic work that our officers have carried out on behalf. We should be standing there very proud of what we've achieved. And I have to say that we have achieved it working together, to be quite honest. And that's what actually makes things even more enjoyable, the fact that we've come together with common cause and we have seen the results that we will see in this report. Just some of the things that we want to highlight is that more than 4,500 new jobs are in the pipeline for the growing business in this area. 2,700 jobs are saved in a tough economic climate. We've done that. 28,800 courses have been made available for people to get good jobs, and that's what we were about too. 1,700 businesses have been supported with advice and guidance. That wasn't there previous to this happening. And I'm pleased to say that we're all really ambitious and excited about the Green New Deal Fund that we introduced, encouraging business to invest in low carbon projects. This report, and I think you've all got a copy of it here, and it will be going out to other people too. But this report highlights the investment in offshore and farming technology, our crowdfunding successes, and our commitment to support people back into work. And we're now going to show a short film and listen to some of our residents how it helped them to get on the road to success as well. And we're going to talk to real people now. We're not just saying it, it's about real people out there saying how we've helped them on that road. Thank you so much. I'll move out the way just in case you can't see.
I've grown up here most of my life, really, just in Tynemouth. Surf's pretty good here, and the surf scene's definitely grown pretty fast. We're running the Taiwan Surf Co Open Surf Contest, which is on the 9th and 10th of October. We're trying to raise surfing, put it on the map in the northeast for competitive surfing here. We've got a lot of great surfers in the area here, so part of this competition is to highlight those surfers and build the northeast surf scene. We're raising money for Surfers Against Sewage and the Wave Project, so it is a non-profit charity event. And yeah, it's going to be a great day, so if you're in the area, pop on down.
Newcastle College have recently just launched their 2030 strategy, and one of the strands of the strategy is about health and well-being. So what we wanted to do was kind of explore that, look at how we could maybe embed that a little bit further. And when we looked at the Good Work Pledge, it was a great opportunity going through the application process to really self-assess ourselves against the 5 pillars, look at what we were doing really well, look at what we could improve on, and it gave us kind of a great overview of exactly how we were performing as a college, and just go for it. Have a look at the pillars, use it like we did as a tool to assess yourself, see where you are against those, almost benchmark it. Work with the North of Tyne Good Work Pledge team. They're really supportive, they're really helpful, they'll give you help and advice, but ultimately it's a great reward to be able to be recognised for the good work that you do, but also look to where you could maybe improve further.
My name's Solomon. I am a soap maker. I live in North Shields, and I started a business making cold press soaps here about a year ago, which I love, and I'm really excited to tell you about it.
Tell us a little about that then.
So I make cold press soaps in a traditional way. I use a mixture of oils that are good for your skin. I use essential oils. All of it together basically adds for better quality soap.
And so you've gained some help in
setting up the business, haven't you? Yep, I joined a program about halfway through. It was going really well, I was enjoying it, but I needed something extra. I needed to get a little bit of guidance, a little bit of support. So I joined this program and it has been amazing. It's been sensational, purely and simply because for me, it gave me the roadmap that I needed to make those steps to go from hobbyist, I think, to near to professional.
So what would be your message maybe to anyone in the same position you were in?
Keep talking, speak to lots of people, seek advice. The more people you speak to, the better, and make mistakes, make lots of them. Just calculate your mistakes. And someone once turned around to me and said to me, only spend what you can afford to lose. I'd agree with that.
So that was good to hear from some of our residents and how the combined authority has helped them to move their businesses forward. Okay, I'm now going to suggest and ask if perhaps Councillor Kilgour would like to come in and tell us something about the VC, the voluntary sector.
Thank you, Chair. The VCSE Stakeholder Engagement Group was established in 2019. It's chaired by the Mayoral Ambassador for the sector, Robin Fry, who's Chief Executive of the charity Voda in North Tyneside. The group brings together Chief Executive Officers from the local infrastructure bodies for the voluntary sector, including Vaughan, the regional sector agency. And I thank them for their work and their commitment to building an inclusive economy. I know the group's passionate about bringing together people and opportunities to build thriving and vibrant communities, and the group helps us enormously by advising the Combined Authority Cabinet and officers on the wealth, well-being and social inequalities in the north of Tyne communities. It provides specific expertise in co-design and co-production, helping to ensure the voices of all residents inform our work and our ambitions. And my thanks in particular to Robin for his constant support and advocacy. Just around the Inclusive Economy Board, if I may, Chair, as people know around the table, our Inclusive Economy Board is a unique feature of our devolution deal. It's independently chaired by Baroness Tyne Gray-Thompson, which is a huge honour for us. It brings our ambitions for a zero poverty, zero carbon future to life. Although this last year has seen quite a lot of change for the board. I'm very grateful to the serving members across business, civil society, education, academia, government departments and so on for their contributions. And I think we really do need to pay particular thanks to our founding chair, the Right Reverend Christine Hardman, Bishop of Newcastle, who retired from the diocese and the area. We are absolutely indebted to her for her work on the board and keeping the board on track. I think the last year the board has continued its successful track record of driving action, focusing on an inclusive economy, not least the work around the successful mobilisation of our Good Work Pledge. I think the board continues to lend effective support across the Combined Authority's growing programme of devolved employment and skills activities. The discussions are always varied and vibrant, and the people who attend don't want to just talk, they want to do and they want to see action, which I think is really positive. And my thanks go to all of those who play their part. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Have any got questions for Councillor Kilgour on any of those or any comments? I would just like to ask Councillor Kilgour, do you feel as though that setting up these boards and the work you've been carrying out in those areas have helped us to reach some of our residents that perhaps we would never be able to reach otherwise?
If I'm being completely honest, when I first joined this cabinet, I did wonder about the number of boards that we had and whether we were just doing a lot of talking. But actually over this last year, I've been able to see for myself that actually it's not about just talking. Those conversations are important, they're very important, and the boards bring some very important partners together to have those conversations. But actually, yes, we do make a difference, and we've got the right people there to highlight who actually ask challenging questions as well, which is exactly what we need. So I think we have the right conversations with the right people around the board and around the table, and that then helps us take the right actions. And I think we're really starting to make some significant progress now.
Thank you so much. And I know for me, that's always been a great concern, that those people that, as a councillor, sometimes I find it very, very difficult to outreach and address their concerns. So the mere fact that when we set up these things, that was the intention. And sometimes, as you say, people do a lot of talking and a lot of writing, but sometimes we're searching for some action. So it's really pleasing to know that's happened. So thank you so much indeed. I'm now going to ask Councillor Sanderson, yes, would you like to tell us about?
Yes, I would. I think it's nicely summarised in this. The culture, creative and rural cabinet position is, in my view, probably the most interesting of all of them, because it's so wide and varied. We know that we've supported something like 124 rural businesses across our area. We have encouraged getting on for 100,000 people to come and visit our events and get involved, more importantly, in those events. And the recent Under the Stars excitement that's been caused has been huge, and it finished at the Civic Centre last week or the week before, and was absolutely the right thing to do, because culture and the creative arts are really important, not just for people's well-being and involvement, but actually for our tourism offer and also for our employment offer. So really important part of the work of the Combined Authority, and I'm really glad to have this role. And I would thank the staff involved very much for helping me over the last year.
Thank you so much. Anyone want to comment on that? Well, I just want to say a big thank you to what you've done in that area, Councillor Sanderson. I know in North Tyneside we've had really positive feedback about some of those events that have been going on, so I do appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed. And it's those events actually are things where families can get involved with and never get the opportunity. Would never have got the opportunity had we not come together, found that money, and put something out with those families in mind. And in a difficult time where money was actually not very sort of available, those items that you have been actually responsible for putting on for us were free. So that was wonderful. So thank you so much indeed. I'm going to ask Councillor Wheelmouth, would you like to come in about our clean energy?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, as you all know, I've been dealing with clean energy and specifically an awful lot on offshore wind and so on. And we've done quite a lot, as you'll know, in the last year. In particular, perhaps one of the key bits that we've pulled together is the Tyne task force, looking at bringing all of the businesses and stakeholders on the River Tyne together in one place, along with decision makers and just last week with MPs as well, to help make sure that people understand what we need to do to make sure that the River Tyne becomes a real hub for offshore wind, because the opportunity in terms of jobs and investment is colossal in securing existing jobs, but also bringing new jobs and new skills to the region. And that complements very much the work that, of course, is going on here in Northumberland and in Blyth and elsewhere in the northeast. And we really have the potential to become the anchor point for these types of technologies. And to assist in that, we've put in place a £20 million investment fund as well to help us to get some of those businesses to transition, whether they are people who are in the supply chain or in the economy already, or new businesses willing and wishing to locate here. And key to that as well, of course, is the education bit, and it speaks to everything that we do here, and Councillor Kilgarrett does with her portfolio and others of you, which is that we want people to be active participants in this market. And it was great to be in your neck of the woods, Mayor Redfern, the other day, and to you know, we all know the fantastic work that's gone on in decades gone by at Swans and in that part of the North Bank. The skills are there, the people are there, and the opportunities there for us to utterly succeed in the mission. There's some key things that we must achieve, and probably those, because of the nature of them, are best left to not be said publicly. But we're making great progress in making sure that any potential inhibitor to us thriving in our mission are removed, and they will be removed. In terms of sort of the wider piece around Northumberland as well, it's great to have the Northumberland line coming here, but of course, for all of the fact that it's called the Northumberland line, it passes through North Tyneside and Newcastle. It's something that unites all three authorities, and that will be key as well in making sure that we open up a corridor that will allow commuting and connectivity between the businesses that will help us to deliver on the green agenda, and similarly that will allow access to the educational hubs for people to train and upskill. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Weymouth. Any comments or any remarks? Any questions? Yes, Lucy.
I thought that was a really interesting report, Councillor Weymouth, thank you. And you talked about some of the new energies and technologies emerging, which of course puts me straight back into my day job working for one of the two universities on your patch. And at some stage, I think it would be really helpful, I don't want to put anyone on the spot now, but it would really be helpful to know how North of Tyne is really embracing the new technologies, the new research in this area, because there is some fantastic research emerging from both universities on your patch that will really help grow an economy. And I think, as you've heard me say before, to me, these businesses are not just a story of apprentice level skills or more jobs. These are businesses that need postgrads, they need doctorates, you know, they need that broad range of skills. So at some stage it would be really interesting to hear how we're working with those two universities and the networks that they're in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So it's a really important point. We have not only all of the potential offshore businesses that are setting up here, but there's innovative things going on either side of the Tyne and in Northumberland on heat water recovery from mines, which I know that some of the universities have had some input in, and there's opportunity there. There's significant opportunity around the battery industry. And what will go on in Northumberland in British Volt, but also in Sunderland with Nissan and everything that they have on that site at IAMP. And we have really now a corridor along the A19 potentially that could open up for North Tyneside, for Newcastle, for Northumberland, but for Sunderland and South Tyneside as well. There's a lot of really interesting and innovative work going on in Newcastle and Northumbria Uni. You could add Sunderland and Durham to that in terms of the opportunity. We must become a hub here for this type of activity. And if you go back in our history, you know, if you could go back to George Stephenson and others at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, but to the next one as well, and the likes of Charles Parsons, of Charles Mertz and McClellan and others who really made Newcastle and North Tyneside and Northumberland the hub of the electrical revolution that created the national grid. It all happened here, and that's a really strong, not just a narrative, but that heritage lives on generationally, through generations, and that knowledge and experience. And there's no better place that people can come than to engage with our businesses here, and in particular our universities. And to just finally close on a little bit of a impassioned rant, that you know, this is something that we're certainly trying to deliver in Blythe as well, a place where you have schools that between them have one sixth form, and then on the doorstep you have the world-leading renewable energy catapult, the place where you can, the only place where you can test some of the biggest bits of turbine equipment. We must fill that gap, and there's a gap there for the universities to come into, to be partner with both sides of that equation, the world-class R&D facility, and simultaneously to make sure that people can upskill. And that, okay, that might be happening in Blyth, but actually it influences right the way across the whole of the north of the Tyne and beyond. Thank you.
Anyone else got any questions or any comments about that? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Weymouth, because when I listen to what's going on, every time I hear something else, it just reinforces the fact it was a great thing to come together to make this happen. And I, like you, I believe that this area could be a centre of excellence when it comes to that green agenda and new jobs, to be quite honest. And it was amazing last week when we had that meeting, and you were there, Councillor Weymouth, with MPs, business employers and local authority people, the combined authority, Port of Tyne, and they all agreed that the future here was worth looking at, working together and developing the opportunities that this presents us with. So thank you so much indeed. I'm now going to ask Councillor Johnson to come in on your investment programme work.
Thank you, Mayor. If Councillor Sanderson's portfolio is the most interesting and varied, investment in resources is not the most varied, is it? So really just to highlight some of the numbers in the report, Chair. Through the Investment Fund, we attracted 5 companies in the last year and about 2,000 jobs to our region, which is absolutely fantastic. We've leveraged 255 million of additional private sector investment into the region and invested 76 million of our own cash in 88 projects right across the North Tyne region. Some really big figures, and later on in the agenda we'll invest even more money into so some really impressive figures, and it does come to show what we can achieve when we come together.
Well, that's certainly what a lot of people are looking for, investment, aren't they? And the mere fact that we have got that money to invest into the future is just amazing. I'm now going to ask Councillor Forbes to bring us in on innovation and growth. Please, Councillor Forbes.
Thank you very much, Chair. And there are a number of real significant successes within the content of broadly my portfolio area captured in the annual report. So we know we continue to be at the cutting edge of 5G infrastructure and rollout, investing 7 million as a combined authority in that. We have also been working to ensure that organisations, particularly those organisations that might not necessarily have the internal capacity to think about digital change, have been accessing digital change programmes. We've been focusing on the key sectors where we know we have economic advantage or economic strengths, and I was particularly pleased with the reception to the £18 million Green Investment Fund. That's gone down extremely well. That was 9 million from the Combined Authority, matched with 9 million from leverage through private finance. And that point around leveraging in additional resources, I think, tells a bigger story about what the Combined Authority is doing, because it's demonstrating that it's leveraging in other resources, other investments in a way that we are seeking to try to align around our vision and values as an organisation. And that's hugely significant because for quite a long time, we haven't had that level of confidence in this region. And I think yes, we can look at the individual stats, and the individual stats themselves are impressive, but you can feel the confidence now that wasn't there several years ago. So I think it's much more difficult to capture that in an annual report like this. But I do think that has been one of the real significant achievements of the Combined Authority, alongside the huge amount of work and all of the achievements that are captured in the formal documentation.
Any questions or comments about that? Okay, I just want to thank you, Councillor Ford, because to be quite honest, when you said for a long time there wasn't that feeling of going anywhere, certainly I feel there's an optimism around this region now. And the mere fact that as leaders we can come together with decision makers and actually make things happen on behalf of our residents is amazing. That has actually proved to people that working together, and I keep saying this, enables us to prove to other people, like government, who want to invest, that we can actually make things happen. But more importantly, we can deliver when you look at this report, and that's amazing, to be quite honest. So thank you so much indeed. It's now my turn on with my other hat on as chair of the Housing and Land Board, because that's been extremely successful in the last year, considering that we started from a nil programme and we've done some really amazing things. So I think there has been a strong focus over the last 12 months on turning our ambition into deliverable schemes that support the North of Tyne's housing and land objectives. When we come to Brownfield Housing Fund, the ongoing delivery of 31 million Brownfield Housing Fund. We were awarded an additional 8 million of funding in the Levelling Up White Paper in February 2022, and our funding will unlock at least 2,200 new homes, much needed, of course. To date, we have awarded 12.5 million, which will unlock 1,340 homes across the North of Tyne area. Schemes that include North Shields, Bellingham Mart. There will be 60 affordable homes, which is really good. The Rise in Newcastle, which offers affordable market housing and a skills hub too. We have online a deliverable pipeline of sites for the remaining allocation of our Browsing Housing Fund, and this has put a strong position. We have put us in a strong position following the announcements of this additional 8 million that we received. We have developed a really good partnership working with Holmes England, the local authorities, registered providers and developers, and they are key to our realising our ambitions. The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with Holmes England is a testimony to this and has been cited as an example of best practice. With partners, we are exploring how we tackle issues associated with the housing affordability right across the North of Tyne, creating a shared pipeline of housing sites, supporting our business to be one of the 20 regeneration areas that were proposed in the Levelling Up White Paper, developing delivery models to undertake housing retrofit and to support our low carbon objectives. As a priority of our devolution deal was the production of a joint infrastructure vision for the North of Tyne. Our vision will facilitate the development of robust infrastructure investment plans for 3 economic corridors. The Northumberland line, which Councillor Wearmouth has talked about, which is really exciting, to be quite honest, lots of opportunities for economic growth. An arc of energy innovation supporting low carbon ambition for the from Blythe to the River Tyne corridor, and the urban core providing a vibrant city centre, which we all have part of owning this, which is amazing. We've created a 6 million North of Tyne High Street and Towns Innovation Programme, which has been designed to breathe new life into our communities, and they're focused on 3 of our historic town centres and high streets, and the local authorities will decide which high streets and which areas they want to focus on. This will ensure that we continue to play a vital role for our communities as places where people want to work and shop and meet and have a coffee with friends. And an important time where you can go and enjoy and spend leisure time with your friends and family. The Housing and Land Board plays an important role in shaping the work of this portfolio, and I would certainly like to thank them for their engagement, their enthusiasm, but a huge thank you to our officers who work extremely hard to take many of these things forward, to be quite honest. So now I'm going to ask you all, please, can you endorse this report, which is getting things done? Will you endorse this report, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Sanderson.
No, I'm so sorry. I was saying yes, I agree. Being
That's wonderful. Thank you so much indeed. So I think after all that, there's so much to celebrate in there, and so much positive feedback to us that took the decision to come together. But a huge, huge thank you to the members and staff on the Combined Authority, who without, you know, we can have the fantastic ideas and you can just say, this is what we want to do. But if nobody makes it happen, you look rather foolish, don't you? So thanks to everybody who's a member of this board, but to the staff as too for all they've done to make that happen. Thank you so much. We now can move on to item 6, and that is the Dirt Education Mid-Year Report. Over to you, Councillor Kilgour. You've moved seats.
Thank you. Yes, I have. I'm not playing. I'm not playing a game, a party game. Honestly, it's apparently the mic wasn't working, so I've been moved. It's not. It's not me trying to confuse people. So, obviously, I'm delighted to hear all of the achievements in the annual report. But I have a particular sense of pride, obviously, in the success of those areas in my portfolio. And in this Adult Education Budget Mid-Year Update Report, we celebrate the opportunities created for our residents in the last 6 months. And to echo your words, Mayor Redfern, I'd like to thank officers for all their extremely hard work. They've worked tirelessly on this agenda. I'd also like to thank you, I'd also ask you to support the proposal for a provider framework to enable us to distribute skills funding in response to performance and demand. It speeds us up and ensures we target our resource to those who need it most. But you'll forgive me, I'm sure, for focusing on our achievements. Over 17,400 enrolment opportunities have been delivered, including basic maths, English and digital skills. 72% of residents who've taken up these opportunities are living in the top 20% of our deprived neighbourhoods, and 71% of those residents are unemployed. We're also particularly keen to upskill those people with low or no qualifications. So, 72% of enrolments are residents with low or no qualifications. So we're supporting residents with additional disadvantages in the employment market. So we're clearly supporting residents with additional disadvantages in the employment market, and this has been a passion of mine, and I know everybody else around this table. So I'm delighted that over 4,700 enrolment opportunities have been delivered to residents for whom English is a second language, with an increase in the number of asylum seekers and refugees taking up those opportunities. And 3,149, which is a very exact figure, residents have with a self-declared learning difficulty or disability are participating, which, again, officers will know is something that I've been really keen that we work on. I'm really thrilled by that figure. And 2,752 of our AEB opportunities are undertaken by young people, with over 8,000 of our enrolment opportunities being taken up by people from our BAME communities. And all of this in the midst of a pandemic, where we've put in place the fundamentals of skills devolution, and our residents have and will continue to reap the rewards of that. And I recommend this report to Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Kilgour. Has anybody got any questions for Councillor Kilgour on that particular report? No? Any comments? No? Well, then, can we note the progress which has been made in terms of the report and agree it? Thank you very much. We're now on to item 7, the skills programme, and it's you once again, Councillor Kilgour.
I know you're going to be sick of the sound of my voice. I wish I brought my water over with me. Thank you. There's been much debate about the government's levelling up white paper, and obviously I won't go into a great deal of detail about that here, but it's important that we see the potential opportunities coming our way, not least the emerging new skills programmes. Firstly, skills boot camps are one part of the government's National Skills Fund. They're designed to help adults train and gain skills quickly to improve their job prospects. The boot camps offer free and flexible courses for up to 16 weeks for adults aged 19 or over. It's an excellent opportunity to test, trial and co-develop our skills provision, adding value and securing positive outcomes for our residents. Secondly, in a few short weeks, we'll know more about the long-awaited UK Shared Prosperity Fund to replace European funding. with £2.6 billion of new funding for all areas of the UK. We'll be expected to identify our needs and build on our strengths locally, with a priority to support disadvantaged people to access the skills they need to progress in life and work, to support local areas to supplement local adult skills provision, and to reduce levels of economic inactivity and move those furthest from the labour market closer to employment through investment in bespoke employment support tailored to local need. And thirdly, apprenticeship funding will be increased to £2.7 billion by 2024-25. And this includes an enhanced national recruitment service for SMEs, because SMEs are most likely to employ younger apprentices and those living in disadvantaged areas. This funding will also make it easier for large employers to transfer their apprenticeship levies to SMEs. And finally, we're also expecting more information on Multiply, launching in spring of this year. Multiply aims to transform the lives of adults by improving their numeracy skills through free personal tutoring, digital training and flexible courses. I recommend we seek to gain all potential skills funding for the North of Tyne, and that we do so collaboratively, inclusively and with the needs of all of our residents in mind. We must take every opportunity to drive up the skills capacity of our people, creating a flexible and productive workforce so that no one gets left behind. I'm happy to recommend the report to Cabinet.
Thank you so much, Councillor Kilgour. Have we got any questions for Councillor Kilgour on that report? No? Any comments? Yes, Lucy.
Sorry, I'm just jumping in again, wearing a hat of higher education, just thinking about the future possibilities. So we have a white paper in the higher education sector at the moment, and the possibility of funding around lifelong learning. And I think there's a real opportunity for this authority to delve into the policy issues there, to see how we can maximise opportunities there, because that will, I mean, we're talking about a different type of learner from some of the learners you've identified in this excellent report, and I really commend the work. But it will also be an opportunity for bringing older learners again back into this area. So I think there's some really close policy things to follow. It's a white paper, so it's just being shaped up at the moment, but I'm looking around at Lee and others who are working on the policy side. Keep close, and if I can offer personal help around this, or my university can, we're happy to do so. But it's an opportunity for this authority. Thanks.
Anyone else? I would just like to make a comment, right? We get back to the hard to reach people, to be quite honest, when you talk about skills. And quite often we ask our people to go to various areas to be trained, where the first thing they have to build up is their confidence to even step out of the area in which they feel comfortable. So there's something about how do we actually initially take training to where our residents are and use the voluntary sector for training initially to build the confidence, to actually give them those basic skills that they need to go on to further training. Because unless we actually build at that level, there's quite a lot of people will never step up into that level. So I'm going to ask that perhaps we can look at how we can better actually deliver training to those people who in those areas that are very hard to reach. I'm sure that would be all right, won't it? We can look at that. And I'm now asking then, can you note the existing delegation in place for the Combined Authority Chief Finance Officer to accept grant offers on the behalf of the authority, subject to all terms and conditions set out by the grant awarding body, and authorise the Managing Director in consultation with the Chief Finance Officer and Cabinet Member for Education, Inclusion Skills to approve the commissioning approach for skills boot camps detailed in paragraph 1.210 of this report, and the commissioning approach for any subsequent new skills funding received from the Department of Education. Can we agree that then and take this forward? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. A bit of a marathon for me, but it is worthwhile, I promise. 50 million of new project approvals, 8 million funded from the government region of brownfield land, and £10 million for new innovative businesses. The UK economy is in the midst of a sharp but incomplete and imbalanced recovery. We've now got a better public outlook, easing of restrictions, the extension of fiscal support have underpinned a faster economic reopening than was anticipated. The economy grew by 0.9% in January 22, more than reversing the Omicron-led reduction in December. The economy has now grown back to pre-pandemic levels, but despite this, the number of people in employment remains well below its previous high. The economic rebound remains contorted by sectoral and regional imbalances, and we must respond to this for our region. We'll continue to invest and support our regional economy to address that imbalance. Investments are forecast to create over 4,530 jobs, almost half of our 30-year target, with 819 jobs already in place. We now have commitments of 82.9 million, and with leverage of about 250 million of private sector investment. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to fix our record of weak growth and poor productivity, to become a world leader in green energy, a hotbed for the technical innovation, and a place that investors seek out to do business. My report today supports our places, our residents, and our businesses to adapt and innovate as the economy moves into recovery. From innovations in SMEs to the culture and creative sector, and from NHS delivery to community projects and our towns and high streets. Critically, we are aligning investment and jobs with investment in skills and communities, connecting residents to opportunities. An additional 207 Kickstart job placements for young people have been filled. We are developing the tech talent pipeline, deliver industry-leading training courses to help 120 residents access tech and digital careers. And the Learning Energy Hub will provide a state-of-the-art learning environment in Blythe. Nationally, we know that while some of the effects of the pandemic have eased, many appear increasingly persistent. Innovation is key to addressing the gap. In March 21, we agreed an allocation of up to £3 million to support businesses to reduce the costs of habitation, support the safeguarding and creation of jobs, and align with our inclusive economy goals to create good jobs for people who need them the most. The demand has been high. 129 businesses have already increased their productivity, became more efficient, and provided better customer service. It's now the right time to extend that fund, and the second phase will support at least 130 more businesses and deliver at least 65 additional jobs. We're also looking at innovation in health, enabling Northumbria Healthcare Trust to drive product development, new jobs, and lower carbon emissions. Our Innovative Access to Finance programme is also surging ahead, supporting social enterprises, and will soon begin the procurement for our £10 million fund for investment in early-stage innovative businesses. We've all heard the saying, nothing changes, nothing changes. And if that's the case, we don't grow, we don't evolve, and we don't do better. And that's not going to work for us. We need positive change, new ideas, we need innovation. The cost of living crisis means that household spending will fall over the rest of 2022. I'm also concerned about energy prices, as we expect that households' average bills will rise by at least £700 when the energy price cap is lifted in April. Anyone who attended Under the Stars will know that providing free and accessible cultural events is vital to our sense of place. And I commend our colleague Councillor Sanderson for his ambition and foresight investing in this amazing event and other cultural right across the region. Investment in culture and creative zone also stimulates the economy, supporting existing cultural businesses, facilitating a highly skilled and creative workforce, and most of all, catalysing the growth of the cultural economy. Working with hundreds of businesses, we can develop affordable workspaces, provide business support, create jobs, and increase skills and engage for our communities. Our residents' communities are why we're all here, and I commend Mayor Driscoll on the success of crowdfunding platform Space Hive, but we now must scale up, increase engagement, invest in more local projects, and support communities doing things for themselves and each other in their places. Our places are our lifeblood. I'm delighted that we've secured an additional £8 million funding to develop an investment in the Brownfield Housing Fund, due to no small part to lead providership by Mayor Redfern and the Housing and Land Board. We're also exploring an ambitious Towns and High Street innovation programme, testing new approaches to support local and smaller traders who have been hit hard by the pandemic. We need to be brave and bold if we are to save the heart of our communities in our high streets. We all know we face challenges: Brexit, the structural change for trade, an imbalanced recovery, and cost inflation. Our residents are really struggling with higher prices and reducing their spending, but we remain on track to deliver more jobs and improve skills. Our annual report demonstrates our success so far, as does reducing the number of people on benefits, and our commitment to tackling poverty alongside investment in jobs, which is the exact strategy we want to see. We need to commend the work done by Councillor Kilgour on trial poverty. Every day, we are improving education standards and raising skills, strengthening families and communities, and promoting long-term economic growth that benefits everyone. We are aligning corporate responsibility with collaboration, connecting individual capacity and capability with support for businesses, building a sustainable and inclusive economy. And I can recommend this report to Cabinet, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councillor Johnson. Has anybody got any comments or any questions about this particular report? Yes, Councillor Weirman.
Thank you, Men. Nothing other than to say what a really interesting set of projects and programmes are in there. I think Councillor Johnson gives himself a little bit of a disservice at the start by saying that because his portfolio is really interesting. There's some fantastic stuff in there for town centres, and I know that certainly in Northumberland, we share some of the very similar issues that you have in North Tyneside around some really key town centres that have suffered over recent years with first the sort of the depletion of the high street by online shopping and so on, and then subsequently the impacts of COVID. But there's some really good stuff here to help bring town centres back to life and make them the hub of people's everyday lives, which is what they should be and what they need to be. Some really important stuff on skills, and very pleased to see in there the mention of the Energy Central Learning Hub, amongst other parts as well, and very pleased obviously to see that additional cash come in for the brownfield housing programme, which is really going to change the map in some parts of the combined authority. So thank you very much for all of the work that's gone on there from councillors and from officers.
Anyone else wants to comment? Yes, Councillor Sands.
Could I just highlight page 18, which shows in the top graph the breakdown of spending and allocation of funding to the three authorities under the culture and creative zone spending, and it actually gives me some encouragement for those cynics who are still amongst us, that combined authorities tend to go to the, well, sometimes the people that shout the most, but often, those areas that have got the biggest centres of population. So this shows that it doesn't happen here, and I'm extremely pleased about that, and I think it's an important point to highlight.
I would agree with you entirely, and that you achieve that by doing mature politics, don't you? And I would just like to say that was an excellent report. It fills me with hope, but more importantly, when our residents read that, it will fill them with hope as well, to be quite honest, and take us forward to the future with some really exciting developments there. So thank you so much indeed. Can we agree that report then? Smashing, good, thank you so much. We're now on to 9, which is Child Poverty Prevention Programme. Councillor Kilgour, please.
Sorry, it's me again. Chair, nearly a year ago, at my very first meeting of the North of Tyne Cabinet, I presented a report asking for Cabinet's approval to tackle child poverty. And in that year, I've learned a great deal as the portfolio holder here and as Deputy Leader of Newcastle. But I can safely say that my beliefs and values and commitment to doing something about the curse of poverty are unchanged. I said a year ago that 22% of children in the North of Tyne area were living in poverty. But the COVID crisis has put families at much greater risk, with a loss of income, access to practical and social support, and of course, rising costs of living. And consequently, the figures have risen to over 25% of children living in poverty. And that's 37% if you take housing costs into account. It's over a quarter of our own children, and it absolutely breaks my heart. With more than half of those children living in working households. We must not only ensure that families in poverty are the ones who get the good jobs that we're creating, but we must also directly tackle that poverty. This programme builds on the good work of our own authorities, extending best practice and doing more. We agreed on 3 pillars: support for children in schools who experience poverty, help for families in poverty by supporting them with welfare advice in the trusted setting of primary schools, and working alongside employers to develop poverty reduction strategies in the workplace. We've now recruited a senior manager for the Child Poverty Prevention Programme, and we're tendering for partners to deliver welfare advice to families in 10 schools in each of the North of Tyne constituency authorities, so that's 30 schools in total. And we're just about to procure a partner to work with 75 businesses across the North of Tyne to address in-work poverty. As I say, we're doing this in partnership. We can't afford to duplicate, and what we do must complement all the great work out there, doing what only we can do. A steering group has already guided our work on addressing poverty in schools, and we will continue to genuinely collaborate with anyone and everyone who has a role to play. The government too has a role to play. We started this project because we knew that thousands of our children are excluded from the full school experience because they live in poverty. You'll have seen the research last week, I'm sure, from Children North East and the Child Poverty Action Group, highlighting how activities some of us took for granted, like school trips, non-uniform days, World Book Day, can cause major difficulties for families living in poverty. I've already supported their campaign to ask the government to provide adequate funding to schools and to ensure all curriculum-related costs are removed from pupils. And, crucially, for government to ensure that our authorities are able to provide additional funding to help families with school costs. All our children deserve a truly free and inclusive education. We know too that families are still reeling from the £20 cut to universal credit last October. Though benefits will increase by 3.1% in April, inflation is projected to be 6% by then. This means another cut to income in real terms. Prices are rising at the fastest rate in 30 years, and energy bills alone are expected to rise by 50% in April. We're all feeling the pinch, but if your family's already struggling, it's a real living nightmare. Food banks are increasing their support, the voluntary sector are doing all they can, and we're lucky to have some strong local communities across our patch who are doing their bit. But it's not enough, and we shouldn't be relying on them. What low-income families need is greater income to combat higher inflation. There's always been a huge mismatch between what those with a low income have and what they need. So therefore, I'm asking you today to join with me and with Child Poverty Action Group, North East Child Poverty Commission, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, the Trussell Trust, Save the Children UK, to name but a few, who are all calling on the government to increase benefits by 6% in April and ensure support for housing costs increase in line with rents. This is not an outrageous ask. It's perfectly reasonable. We're in crisis. Our children are in crisis. Without further government action, out-of-work families with children will be the furthest away from being able to afford an acceptable standard of living since records began. That's shameful. Please join with me in this call. And I'm delighted to end on that, well, I'm not delighted to end on that note, but I'm delighted to recommend this report to Cabinet. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Anybody got any comments or any questions about that? I was just wondering, is there anything in particular you're asking us to do, Councillor Kilgour?
Well, apart from back the call for the 6% increase, I think the recommendations are to note the initial progress that's been made and to delegate authority to approve grant funding.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, many of us, and well, all of us here would be on any journey to help our young children who are in dire need, to be quite honest. And I really do understand these particular times how difficult it is for some families, but my heart goes out to those children and having witnessed how they've suffered in the past. So I was just hoping that we could all actually agree that report and agree the recommendations, if that's okay. Can we do that? Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Now we're on to item 10, and if you remember when we went through the agenda beforehand, we all agreed that there wasn't any necessity to ask any questions on this particular piece of report from about the LEP. So if that's the case, all we can do is just move forward and agree that. Is that right, John? Okay.
Yes, Chair. Chair, there is a confidential appendix which sets out the LEP funding decisions, but I think the main report is just to be presented by Katie, just for information.
Yeah. Over to you, Katie.
Thank you. The purpose of this report is just to update Cabinet on the work and decisions of the North East Local Enterprise Partnership. And Cabinet are just asked to note that. The North East LEP manages 4 funds: the Local Growth Fund, the Getting Building Fund, North East Investment Fund and Enterprise Zones. There are a number of funding decisions made since November the 30th. These are highlighted in the report, and some of the main ones are a grant offer letter for an increase from 2 million to 7 million for the North East Inward Investment Fund using enterprise zone surpluses to remove the balance of the 4.5 million NEAF loans funds. A budget has been agreed for the Commercial Property Investment Fund of 5 million from enterprise zone surpluses, subject to separate approvals from the North East LEP Investment Board and the North of Tyne Combined Authority. A variation on an existing agreement of North East Investment Fund for the Common Room for the North Limited project, deferring payments of the loan by 1 year to January 2023, and a variation on an existing agreement of a NEAF loan, delaying the final payment for solar capture technologies by 12 months. And there were various other sort of minor funding agreements in relation to the Project Accelerator Fund, and that was it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. Now then, has anyone got any questions on the exclusion resolution? I think we agreed beforehand that we were quite happy with that. Therefore, can we agree the report from Katie, please? Thank you so much. And at that point, I'm going to say the next meeting will be on the 7th of June, 2022 at 2 o'clock. A huge thank you to Councillor Sanderson for hosting this meeting, and I did enjoy my sandwich. Thank you so much indeed. And I would just like to say a huge thank you once again to all the staff for all their hard work. And I just keep saying this, that you might have wonderful ideas, you might want to move the world, but without the officers to make it happen and give you value for money and make sure that the quality is going to be there as well, we wouldn't be anyway. So thank you so much indeed. To Councillor Forbes, I shall be seeing you now around and about, but do take care and keep in touch. I'm sure you'll keep an eye on this, won't you, to be quite honest? And I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And and to everyone else, thank you so much for coming along today. And today has just once again proven to me the best thing we ever did was come together as a combined authority. And that report is the evidence to our residents that we decided to do the right thing. And if we continued it this way, we were working together in this way, we will certainly actually achieve much more. So thank you so much for coming along today. Thank you. Thank you.